When my daughter told me I couldn't stay in her house, not even for one night, I smiled, thanked her politely, and walked away. But what she didn't know was this. I had just signed the papers that would make me her landlord. Yes, you heard that right. Within 72 hours, I went from being the mother she was ashamed of to the woman who owned the roof over her head, and that was just the beginning of the most calculated revenge I've ever orchestrated. My name is Elena Morales. I'm 61 years old, and this is the story of how my own daughter tried to erase me from her life, and how I made sure she would never forget me again. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Trust me, you're going to want to follow this journey until the very end. Because what happens next? Even I didn't see it coming. Let's go back to where it all started, 3 months ago. October 15th, a day I'll never forget. I had just driven 6 hours from Tucson to Seattle. My back was aching. My hands were stiff from gripping the steering wheel. But I was excited because I was finally going to see my daughter, Sophia, and meet my grandson Lucas, who had just turned 2 years old. 2 years old. And I had only seen him twice, both times through a video call that lasted less than 10 minutes. But Sophia had promised me this time would be different. She said I could stay for a week. She said Lucas was asking about his grandmother. She said she missed me. I believed her. God, I was such a fool. When I pulled up to her house, this massive, beautiful 2-story home in a gated community, I felt a surge of pride. My daughter had made it. She married a successful tech executive named Derek Chen. They had money, status, everything I never had growing up. I rang the doorbell, holding a bag full of homemade tamales and tres leches cake. Sophia's favorites when she was a little girl. The door opened. But it wasn't Sophia. It was Derek. He looked at me like I was a delivery driver who had shown up at the wrong address. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice cold and formal. "Derek, it's me, Elena, Sophia's mother." His face didn't change. No warmth. No recognition, just discomfort. "Oh, right. Elena. Sophia didn't mention you were coming today." My heart sank. She told me to come this week. I drove 6 hours. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Look, this isn't really a good time. Sophia's not feeling well, and we have some family visiting. Family visiting. I am her family. But I kept my smile. I kept my voice calm. "I understand. Can I just see her for a few minutes? And maybe give Lucas his gifts?" Derek hesitated. Then he sighed like I was asking him to move a mountain. "Wait here." He closed the door. Not all the way. Just enough so I couldn't see inside. I stood there, on the porch, holding my bags, feeling smaller with every passing second. 5 minutes later, Sophia appeared. She looked beautiful. Designer clothes, perfect hair, the kind of polished look that screamed money and success. But when she looked at me, there was no love in her eyes, only annoyance. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "You told me to come. You said I could stay for a week." I said maybe. I said I'd let you know. "You can't just show up like this." My throat tightened. "Sophia, I drove 6 hours. I brought food. I brought gifts for Lucas." "Mom, stop. Just stop." She glanced back into the house, then stepped outside and closed the door behind her. "Look, Derek's parents are here. They're staying in the guest room. There's no space for you. I can sleep on the couch. I don't need much. No, you can't stay here." The words hit me like a slap. "Why not?" She looked away. "Because it's complicated." "What's complicated about a mother visiting her daughter?" "You wouldn't understand. Try me." Sophia exhaled sharply. "Fine, you want the truth? Derek's parents? They have certain expectations. They're very traditional, very particular about who they associate with. And honestly, Mom, you're not a good fit right now. Not a good fit, my own daughter. The girl I raised alone after her father walked out. The girl I worked 3 jobs to put through college. The girl I sacrificed everything for was telling me I wasn't a good fit. What does that mean, Sophia? It means you're embarrassing, okay?" Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "You show up in your old clothes, driving that beat-up car, bringing homemade food like we're some struggling family. We're not struggling anymore, Mom. We've moved up. And you "You don't fit into that picture." I felt something inside me crack, but I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just looked at my daughter, this stranger wearing my daughter's face, and I nodded. "I understand." "Good. I'm glad you—" "I understand perfectly." I turned and walked back to my car. Sophia called after me, but I didn't stop. I got in, started the engine, and drove away, but I wasn't going home. I was going to the one place where I knew I'd find answers and revenge. I checked into a cheap motel 20 minutes away from Sophia's house. The room smelled like old carpet and regret. But I didn't care, because my mind was spinning with one question. How did my daughter become this person? I opened my laptop and started digging. Sophia's social media was the first stop. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and what I found made my blood boil. Her entire life was a performance. Every post, every photo, every caption was carefully curated to project wealth, success, and superiority. Photos of her at charity galas. Designer handbags, expensive vacations to Bali and Paris, captions about living your best life and surrounding yourself with the right people. But here's what caught my attention. In every single family photo, and I mean every single one, I was cropped out. There was a picture from her wedding. Derek's entire family was there. His parents, his siblings, his cousins. But me? I was cut out of the frame. You could see half of my shoulder in one photo. That's it. There was a post from Lucas's first birthday party. The caption read, "So grateful for our beautiful family." But I wasn't in any of those pictures. And I had been there. I remembered that day. I had driven 8 hours to attend. I had brought gifts. I had held Lucas while Sophia cut the cake, but in her version of reality, I didn't exist. I kept scrolling, and then I found it, a post from 6 months ago. A long, emotional caption about overcoming adversity and building a life of abundance. But the part that made me see red was this. I grew up with nothing. A single mother who could barely make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck. I knew from a young age that I wanted more. I wanted better, and I worked hard to get here. I didn't wait for handouts. I didn't make excuses. I built this life with my own 2 hands, with her own 2 hands, as if I didn't exist, as if I hadn't worked 3 jobs to pay for her private school, as if I hadn't taken out loans I'm still paying, off to send her to college, as if I hadn't given her everything I had so she could have a better life than I did, and this was how she repaid me, by erasing me. I closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling. Wasn't sad anymore. I was furious, but I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to show up at her door and plead for her love. No, I was going to do something much better. I was going to make her realize exactly what she'd lost. The next morning, I made a phone call to my financial advisor, Martin Liu. Martin had been helping me manage my money for the past 15 years. He knew everything about my finances, and he knew I had been very, very smart with my investments. You see, while Sophia was busy pretending I didn't exist, I was busy building wealth. I owned a small medical transcription business that I'd started from my living room 20 years ago. It had grown into a 6-figure operation with 12 employees. I'd invested in real estate during the 2008 crash when prices were dirt cheap. I now owned 3 rental properties in Tucson that brought in steady income, and I'd been putting money into index funds and stocks for decades. By the time I called Martin that morning, my net worth was sitting at just over $1.2 million. Not bad for a woman my daughter described as struggling and embarrassing. "Martin," I said when he picked up, "I need you to do something for me. And I need it done fast." "What's going on, Elena?" "I want to buy a house." "Okay. Where?" "Seattle. I'll send you the address." I pulled up Sophia's address on my phone and texted it to him. Martin was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Elena, this is your daughter's address." "I know." "You want to buy your daughter's house?" "Not want, need. Can you find out who owns it and if they're willing to sell?" Martin hesitated. "Are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure about anything in my life." "All right. Give me 48 hours. 2 days later, Martin called me back. "Elena, I've got news, and you're going to love this." "Tell me." The house isn't owned by your daughter or her husband. It's owned by a real estate investment company called North Point Holdings. They've been renting it to them for the past 3 years. My heart started racing. Can we buy it? Better than that. North Point is actively looking to sell. They're liquidating some of their Seattle properties to reinvest in commercial real estate. I spoke to their acquisitions manager. They're willing to sell for $875,000. Make the offer. Elena, make the offer. All right. But I need to know your plan here. I smiled. I'm going to teach my daughter a lesson about respect. The paperwork moved faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks, I was sitting in a lawyer's office signing the final documents that made me the legal owner of 4782 Elmwood Drive, the house my daughter lived, in the house where she had turned me away, the house that she thought represented everything she'd built with her own 2 hands. Martin sat across from me, shaking his head with a mixture of disbelief and admiration. I still can't believe you're doing this. Believe it. What's your plan now? Are you going to evict them? Not yet. I want to let them know who their new landlord is first. Martin raised an eyebrow. You're going to tell them? Oh, I'm going to do more than tell them. I'm going to make sure they understand exactly what this means. I had the lawyer draft a formal letter, professional, legal, cold. It read, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Chen, this letter serves as official notification that the property located at 4782 Elmwood Drive, Seattle, WA, has been sold to a new owner, effective immediately. Your current lease agreement with North Point Holdings has been transferred to the new ownership entity. All terms and conditions remain the same. Your monthly rent of $4,200 is now due to the following account, Morales Property Management, LLC. Please update your payment information accordingly. Should you have any questions or concerns, you may contact the property manager directly. Sincerely, Elena Morales, owner, Morales Property Management, LLC. Read it 3 times. Then I smiled and told the lawyer to send it via certified mail. It would arrive in 3 days, and I couldn't wait. While I waited for the letter to reach them, I did something else. I drove to Sophia's neighborhood and parked across the street from her house. I watched. I saw Sophia leave in the morning, dressed in her expensive clothes, driving her luxury SUV. I saw Derek leave an hour later in his Tesla. I saw the nanny arrive to watch Lucas. I saw the landscapers come to maintain their perfect lawn. I saw the life they had built. The life they thought was untouchable, and I knew I was about to shatter it. On the 3rd day, I was sitting in a coffee shop 2 blocks away when my phone rang. It was Sophia. I let it ring 4 times before I answered. Hello? Mom, what the hell is this? Her voice was shaking with rage and panic. What are you talking about, sweetheart? Don't play dumb with me. We just got a letter saying you're our landlord, that you bought our house. What kind of sick game are you playing? I took a slow sip of my coffee. It's not a game, Sophia. It's business. Business? You bought the house we're living in? That's insane. That's harassment. Actually, it's real estate investment. Perfectly legal. I saw an opportunity and I took it. You can't do this. I already did. There was silence on the other end. I could hear her breathing hard. Why? She finally asked, her voice breaking. Why would you do this to me? You told me I wasn't a good fit for your life, remember? You said I was embarrassing, that I didn't belong in your picture-perfect world. So I decided to become a different kind of presence in your life. One you can't ignore, one you can't erase. Mom, please, your rent is due on the 1st of every month. $4,200. Don't be late. Are you seriously going to charge us rent? Of course. This is an investment property, and you're my tenants. I can't believe you're doing this. Neither can I. But here we are. I hung up. My hands were shaking. But not from fear or guilt, from power. For the first time in 3 months, maybe for the first time in years, I felt in control. That night, Derek called. His voice was different from Sophia's. Cold, calculated, threatening. Elena, this is Derek. We need to talk. I'm listening. What you've done is unethical. It's manipulative, and it's going to end badly for you. Is that a threat, Derek? It's a reality check. You think you can just buy our house and force us to pay you rent? We have lawyers. We have resources. We will fight this. Go ahead, fight it. But while you're spending thousands on legal fees, your rent is still due on the 1st. And if you don't pay, I'll start eviction proceedings. It's all legal, Derek. I made sure of it. You're destroying your relationship with your daughter. My daughter destroyed that relationship when she told me I wasn't good enough to stay in her home. I'm just making sure she remembers that the home she's so proud of. It's mine now. You're insane. No, I'm a businesswoman, and you're my tenant. Start acting like it. I hung up again, and I waited. The first rent payment was due on November 1st. I waited by my computer, refreshing my bank account every few minutes, $4,200. It would show up as a transfer from Derek and Sophia Chen. But the clock struck midnight. Then 1 a.m. Then 2 a.m., nothing. By morning, there was still no payment. I called my lawyer. They didn't pay. That's a violation of the lease agreement, he said. You can issue a pay or quit notice. They have 3 days to pay or vacate the property. Do it. The notice was delivered that afternoon, and that's when things got interesting. Because 2 hours after the notice was delivered, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Mrs. Morales, my name is Catherine Wu. I'm Derek Chen's mother. My stomach tightened. Hello, Mrs. Wu. I'm calling because my son and daughter-in-law are very distressed about this situation. I understand there's been some family tension. That's putting it mildly. Mrs. Morales, I'm a reasonable woman, and I believe we can resolve this situation amicably. I'd like to invite you to lunch, just the two of us, so we can discuss this like adults. I hesitated. Every instinct told me this was a trap, but curiosity won. When and where? Tomorrow, 1 p.m., the Rosewood Grill downtown. I'll be there. The next day, I arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes early. The Rosewood Grill was the kind of place where a salad cost $30 and the waiters wore suits. I felt out of place immediately, but I walked in with my head high. Catherine Wu was already seated. She was exactly what I expected. Elegant, composed, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my car payment. She stood when she saw me and extended a perfectly manicured hand. Mrs. Morales, thank you for coming. Mrs. Wu. We sat, ordered drinks, made small talk, and then she got to the point. I'm going to be direct with you, Mrs. Morales. What you've done is unacceptable. Buying a house? Buying the house your daughter lives in as an act of revenge. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending this is anything other than what it is. I leaned back. Your son and my daughter made it very clear I wasn't welcome in their lives. I'm simply ensuring I still have a presence. A legal one, Catherine smiled. But it wasn't warm. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell that house back to North Point Holdings. Or to us directly. We'll pay you fair market value plus 10% for your trouble. And then you're going to walk away from this family and never contact Sophia again. And if I refuse? Then we'll make your life very difficult. How? Catherine sipped her wine. We have resources you can't imagine, Mrs. Morales. Legal resources, social resources, financial resources. We can tie you up in court for years. We can make sure your little business suffers. We can make sure everyone in your community knows exactly what kind of person you are. My heart was pounding. But I kept my face calm. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I stood up. Thank you for lunch, Mrs. Wu. But I'm not interested in your offer. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. I walked out of that restaurant shaking, but not from fear, from rage. Because now I knew the truth. Sophia hadn't just rejected me on her own. She'd been poisoned, manipulated, trained by Derek's family to see me as inferior. And that changed everything. I went home and made a phone call to someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years, my ex-husband. Sophia's father, Raymond Ortiz. Elena? His voice was surprised. Is everything okay? No, but I need your help. I told him everything. The rejection, the house, the threats, and when I was done, there was a long silence. Then Raymond said something I never expected. I'm coming to Seattle. Raymond arrived 3 days later. I hadn't seen him in person in over a decade. We divorced when Sophia was 12. It wasn't messy, just over. He'd moved to California, remarried, started a new life. But when he walked into my motel room, I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. Guilt. "I'm sorry," he said before I could even speak. "I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I let you raise her alone. And I'm sorry she turned into someone who would treat you like this." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. "Tell me what you need," Raymond said. "I need information. I need leverage, because Derek's family is coming after me and I need to be ready." Raymond smiled. "Then you called the right person." Turns out, Raymond had become a forensic accountant. He specialized in uncovering financial fraud for law firms and corporations, and he was very, very good at it. "Give me Derek's full name and his company," Raymond said. Within 48 hours, Raymond had compiled a file that made my jaw drop. Derek Chen wasn't just a tech executive. He was a fraud. His entire career was built on lies. Raymond discovered that Derek had inflated his resume, claiming degrees he never earned. He'd lied about his previous work experience. And worst of all, he'd been embezzling money from his current company, a startup called Vertex Solutions, by creating fake vendor accounts and funneling payments to himself. Over $300,000 in stolen funds. "This is insane," I whispered, staring at the documents. "It gets better," Raymond said. "Or worse, depending on how you look at it. Derek's family knows." "What?" "Catherine and her husband, David Wu. They know about the embezzlement. I found emails between Derek and his father discussing how to cover it up. They've been helping him hide the money offshore." I sat back stunned. "So they're all criminals." "Yep. And they threatened me." "Yep." I looked at Raymond. "What do I do with this?" "You have two options. 1. You go to the authorities and turn them all in. Derek goes to prison. His parents get implicated in the cover-up. Sophia's life implodes. And option 2? You use this as leverage. You make them back off. You make them respect you. You make sure they never threaten you again." I thought about it. Part of me wanted to destroy them all. But another part of me, the part that still loved my daughter, even after everything, wanted to give her a chance. "I'm going with option 2, I said. "But with conditions," Raymond grinned. "I was hoping you'd say that." The next day, I sent an email to Catherine Wu. The subject line read, "We need to talk, urgently." The email was short. "Mrs. Wu, I've recently come into possession of some information regarding your son Derek's professional activities. I believe you'll want to discuss this in person before I decide what to do with it. Meet me tomorrow at 10 a.m., same restaurant. Come alone. Elena." I didn't sleep that night. I kept imagining the look on Catherine's face when she realized I had the power now. The next morning, I arrived early again. Catherine was already there. But this time she didn't look composed. She looked terrified. "What do you want?" she asked the moment I sat down. I slid a folder across the table. "Open it." She did, and I watched the color drain from her face. "Where did you get this?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm going to do with it. You can't, I can. And I will. Unless we come to an agreement." Catherine's hands were shaking. "What do you want?" "First, you and your husband will never threaten me again. Ever. Fine. Second, you will stop poisoning my daughter against me. No more comments about how I'm not good enough. No more erasing me from her life." Catherine nodded, her jaw tight. "Third, Derek will pay back every penny he stole from Vertex Solutions, quietly, anonymously, and he will resign from his position." "That's impossible. Make it possible. Or I go to the FBI." Catherine was silent. "And fourth," I continued, "Sophia will invite me to Thanksgiving dinner, and Christmas, and every major family event from now on. Not because she wants to, but because she owes me. And you're going to make sure she understands that." Catherine looked like she wanted to throw her wine in my face, but instead, she said, "Fine. Good. Then we have a deal." I stood up to leave, but Catherine grabbed my wrist. "You think you've won? Don't you?" I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. "Let go of me," she did. "You haven't won. Elena, you've just made enemies you can't afford to have." I smiled. "We'll see." Thanksgiving arrived, and for the first time in 3 years, I was invited to Sophia's house. I drove there with my heart pounding. Part of me didn't want to go. Part of me wanted to stay away and let them suffer in silence, but I needed to see this through. When I arrived, Sophia opened the door. She looked exhausted. Her perfect composure was gone. She looked like someone who'd been crying for days. "Hi, Mom," she said quietly. "Hi, sweetheart." We stood there for a moment, neither of us knowing what to say. Then she stepped aside. "Come in." The house was full of people. Derek's family, some friends I didn't recognize, and Lucas, now running around like a little tornado. When he saw me, he stopped. "Grandma?" My heart melted. "Hi, baby." He ran to me and hugged my legs. I picked him up and held him close. This was what I'd been fighting for. Dinner was awkward. Everyone was polite, but the tension was thick. Catherine barely looked at me. Derek refused to make eye contact. Sophia kept glancing at me like she was waiting for me to explode. But I didn't. I just sat there, ate my food, played with Lucas. And halfway through dinner, something happened that I didn't expect. David Wu, Catherine's husband, stood up. "I'd like to make a toast," he said. Raising his glass, everyone looked up. "To family," he said. "To the people who teach us humility, and to Elena, who reminded us all that respect isn't given. It's earned." I stared at him, shocked. He raised his glass higher. "To Elena," and one by one, everyone at the table raised their glasses, even Catherine. Even Derek, even Sophia. "To Elena," they echoed. I felt tears sting my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. After dinner, Sophia pulled me aside. "Mom, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated you. For what I said. For trying to erase you from my life." "Sophia, no, let me finish. I was wrong. I got so caught up in trying to impress Derek's family that I forgot who I was. I forgot where I came from. I forgot that you're the reason I have any of this." She started crying. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway." I pulled her into a hug. "You're my daughter. I'll always forgive you." We stood there for a long time, holding each other, and for a moment, I thought everything was going to be okay. But then Derek's phone rang. He stepped outside to take the call. And when he came back in, his face was white. "We need to leave now." "What's wrong?" Sophia asked. "The FBI just raided Vertex Solutions. They're looking for me." The room went silent. Catherine stood up. "What did you do?" "Nothing! I didn't do anything." But I knew the truth. Someone had tipped off the authorities, and it wasn't me. I looked at Raymond, who was standing in the corner with a small smile on his face. He winked. Oh no, he'd gone rogue. Chaos erupted. Derek started yelling. Catherine started crying. David was on the phone with their lawyer, and Sophia just stood there frozen. "Mom," she whispered. "Did you do this?" "No." "Then who?" I looked at Raymond. Sophia followed my gaze. "Dad?" Raymond stepped forward. "I'm sorry, Sophia, but Derek needed to face consequences. Real consequences. You turned him in?" Sophia's voice was shaking. "I gave the FBI everything they needed to build a case. The embezzlement, the offshore accounts, the cover-up, all of it. Why would you do that?" "Because he hurt you. And he hurt your mother. And I wasn't going to let him get away with it." Sophia looked between us, her face crumbling. "So this was all planned? The house, the leverage, the Thanksgiving dinner? It was all just a setup?" "No," I said quickly. "Sophia, I didn't know he was going to—" "You're both insane!" she screamed. "You've destroyed my life." "We saved your life," Raymond shot back. "You were married to a criminal, a liar, a con artist, and his family was using you as a pawn to protect him." "That's not true." Catherine spoke up, her voice icy. "Actually, it is." Everyone turned to look at her. "Derek has been lying to you for years, Sophia. About his job, about his finances, about everything. We knew. We helped him cover it up, because we didn't want the scandal." Sophia staggered backward. No, that's not—" "It's true," Derek said quietly. She turned to him, her face twisted in betrayal. "You lied to me?" "I'm sorry. You lied to me?" "I didn't have a choice." "You always have a choice." Sophia grabbed her coat. "I'm leaving. I'm taking Lucas and I'm leaving." "Sophia, wait." I reached for her, but she pulled away. "Don't touch me. Don't call me. Don't come near me. I'm done. With all of you." She grabbed Lucas and walked out the door, and I knew I'd lost her all over again. The days after Thanksgiving were a blur. Derek was arrested on federal charges. Catherine and David hired the best lawyers money could buy, but it didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming. Sophia filed for divorce, and I didn't hear from her. I called, I texted. I left voicemails, nothing. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Mrs. Morales, this is Linda Grayson. I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services. My heart stopped. What's wrong? Is Lucas okay? Lucas is fine, but I'm calling because Sophia Chen has been hospitalized. She had a breakdown and is currently receiving psychiatric care. Oh my God, Lucas is currently in temporary foster care. But Sophia listed you as an emergency contact. We need you to come pick him up. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I drove faster than I should have. When I arrived at the CPS office, Lucas was sitting in a small room with a stuffed bear, looking scared and confused. Grandma! He ran to me and I scooped him up. It's okay, baby. Grandma's here. Linda Grayson pulled me aside. Sophia's going to be in treatment for at least 30 days. You'll need to file for temporary custody if you want Lucas to stay with you. I'll do whatever it takes. Good. Because that boy needs stability right now. And from what Sophia's told me, you're the only person who can give him that. Over the next month, I became Lucas's full-time guardian, moved out of the motel and into the house, my house, where Sophia and Derek had lived. I turned the guest room into Lucas's bedroom. I enrolled him in a local preschool. I read him stories every night, and slowly, he started to smile again. Sophia was released from treatment in January. She called me the day she got out. Mom? Hi, sweetheart. Can I come see Lucas? Of course. He's been asking about you. When Sophia arrived, she looked different. Tired. Humbled. But also lighter. Like a weight had been lifted. She hugged Lucas for a long time. Then she looked at me. I'm sorry. You don't have retry e continue to apologize anymore, I said softly. What matters is that you're getting better. I'm not better yet, but I'm working on it. She took a shaky breath. The doctors said I've been living with depression and anxiety for years. I just didn't realize it. I was so focused on being perfect, on meeting everyone's expectations, that I lost myself. We sat down on the couch. Lucas immediately climbed onto Sophia's lap. I blamed you for everything, she continued. For ruining my life, for destroying my marriage, for exposing Derek. But the truth is, you saved me. I felt tears forming. If you and Dad hadn't done what you did, I would have kept living that lie. I would have kept pretending everything was fine while Derek stole and lied and destroyed everything around him. I would have raised Lucas in that toxic environment. She wiped her eyes. You gave me a chance to start over, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. What are you going to do now? I asked. I don't know. Derek's going to prison for 7 years. The divorce will be final next month. I lost my job because of the scandal. I have nothing. You have Lucas. And you have me. She looked at me, hope flickering in her eyes. Really? After everything I said? Everything I did? You're my daughter, Sophia. That never changed. Not for a second. She broke down crying, and this time, when I held her, it felt real. It felt like we were finally being honest with each other. 3 months later, something happened that I never saw coming. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when there was a knock at the door. It was a woman I'd never seen before. Mid-30s, professional-looking, with kind eyes. Can I help you? I asked. Are you Elena Morales? Yes. My name is Jessica Park. I'm a private investigator. I was hired by David Wu to look into something and, well, I think you need to see this. She handed me a folder. What is this? Open it. I did, and what I found inside made my blood run cold. Birth certificates, hospital records, DNA test results from 34 years ago. I don't understand, I whispered. Jessica took a deep breath. Mrs. Morales, 3 months ago, David Wu hired me to investigate his family's background. He suspected his wife Catherine had been hiding something big. What does this have to do with me? Everything. Because Catherine Wu didn't just marry into money. She stole someone's identity to do it. I stared at her. 34 years ago, there were 2 babies born at Seattle General Hospital on the same day. One was named Catherine Louise Park. The other was named Catherine Marie Chen. They were in the neonatal unit at the same time. My head was spinning. Catherine Louise Park, that's me, by the way, was adopted by a family in Portland. Catherine Marie Chen was supposedly taken home by her birth parents. But here's where it gets interesting. The woman you know as Catherine Wu, she's not Catherine Chen. She's Catherine Park, the adopted one. I'm not following. The real Catherine Chen died when she was 6 months old. Sudden infant death syndrome. But someone, we think it was Catherine Park's adoptive mother, saw an opportunity. She switched the birth certificates, gave Catherine Park the identity of Catherine Chen. And because the real Catherine Chen's parents had died in a car accident just weeks after their daughter's death, no one was left to question it. I felt dizzy. So Catherine Wu has been living under a stolen identity for 33 years? Yes, and it gets worse. The Chen family she claims to be descended from, they were incredibly wealthy. Old money. She inherited millions when her grandparents died. But none of that money was legally hers. It belonged to the real Catherine Chen's estate. Why are you telling me this? Jessica smiled. Because David Wu wants justice. And he wants you to be the one to deliver it. Why me? Because Catherine destroyed your relationship with your daughter. She poisoned Sophia against you for years. She threatened you. She tried to ruin you. And David realizes now that his entire marriage was built on lies. He wants Catherine to face consequences, real ones. And he thinks you deserve to be the one who makes that happen. I sat down, overwhelmed. What would I need to do? Go to the police, file a report, present this evidence. Catherine will be arrested for identity theft, fraud, and inheritance theft. She'll lose everything, including her freedom. I looked at the folder in my hands. This was power beyond anything I'd imagined. I could destroy Catherine Wu completely. But, can I think about it? I asked. Jessica nodded. Of course, but don't take too long. David wants to move forward with divorce proceedings. And this evidence will help his case significantly. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table for hours, staring at those documents. Sophia came downstairs with Lucas. Mom, you okay? I looked up at her, and I made a decision. Sophia, sit down. I need to tell you something. I told Sophia everything about Catherine's stolen identity, about the inheritance fraud, about David's investigation, and about the choice I had to make. Sophia was silent for a long time. Then she said, "What are you going to do?" I don't know. Part of me wants to destroy her, after everything she did to us. But revenge isn't healing, Sophia. I've learned that. Yes, I bought your house. Yes, I exposed Derek. Yes, I made Catherine and her family face consequences. But did any of that make me happy? Sophia thought about it. Did it? No, what made me happy was this. Having you here, having Lucas here, building something real instead of destroying something fake. So you're not going to turn her in? I didn't say that. I picked up my phone and called David Wu. Mr. Wu, this is Elena Morales. I've reviewed the information Jessica brought me. And I'll go to the police. But on one condition. Name it. Catherine gets a chance to turn herself in voluntarily. You tell her what we know. You give her 24 hours to do the right thing. If she does, I'll advocate for leniency. If she doesn't, I'll make sure she faces the maximum penalties. David was quiet. Then he said, "That's more than fair. Thank you, Elena." Don't thank me yet. I hung up. 24 hours later, Catherine Wu walked into a police station and confessed everything. She was arrested, charged, and eventually sentenced to 5 years in prison for fraud and identity, theft. The millions she'd inherited were returned to the real Catherine Chen's surviving relatives, distant cousins who'd never known the money existed. David Wu finalized his divorce and sold their mansion. And Sophia? She moved back in with me and Lucas, not permanently, just until she could get back on her feet. She got a job at a local nonprofit, started therapy, started rebuilding her life from the ground up, and one night, about 6 months after everything had settled, she came to me with tears in her eyes. "Mom, I need to tell you something." "What is it, sweetheart?" "I was going through some old boxes today, stuff from storage that Derek and I had packed away years ago, and I found this. She handed me a letter. It was addressed to me, in Sophia's handwriting. From 15 years ago. I opened it carefully. Dear Mom, I'm writing this because I don't think I tell you enough how much you mean to me. You work so hard. You sacrifice so much. And sometimes I take it for granted. But I want you to know, I see you. I appreciate you. And when I grow up, I want to be just like you. Strong, kind, unstoppable. I love you more than words can say. Your daughter. Sophia, I couldn't speak. I wrote that after you worked a double shift so I could go on that school trip to Washington, D.C., Sophia said through tears. I never sent it because I thought I'd have time to tell you in person. And then, I just forgot. I got busy. I got distracted. I got lost. She knelt down in front of me. But I'm not lost anymore, Mom. You found me. Even when I didn't deserve it. Even when I pushed you away. Even when I told you that you weren't good enough. Sophia, you bought my house. You exposed my husband. You turned my world upside down. And it was the best thing you ever could have done for me. I pulled her into my arms and we both cried. Lucas wandered over, confused. Why crying, Grandma? I laughed through my tears. These are happy tears, baby. Happy tears? Yes, because sometimes good things hurt before they heal. It's been 2 years since that Thanksgiving dinner that changed everything. Derek is still in prison. He'll be eligible for parole in 3 years. Catherine served 18 months and was released on good behavior. Last I heard, she was living in a small apartment in Tacoma, working as a receptionist. A far cry from her mansion and her stolen millions. David Wu remarried. A kind woman named Helen who treats him with respect and honesty. He and I have coffee once a month. He calls me his accountability partner. I call him my unlikely ally. Raymond moved back to Seattle. He and Sophia are rebuilding their relationship slowly. He's teaching Lucas Spanish and taking him to baseball games on weekends. And Sophia? She's thriving. She started her own consulting business, helping women rebuild their lives after divorce. She's writing a book about overcoming toxic relationships. She's happy, really, genuinely happy. As for me, I still own that house. But Sophia and Lucas don't live there anymore. They moved into a smaller place nearby. Something she can afford on her own. Something she earned. I rent the house now to a young family. Good people, honest people, and the rent I collect, I put it into a trust fund for Lucas. So when he grows up, he'll have something his parents couldn't give him. Security without strings attached. People ask me if I regret what I did, if I regret buying that house. Exposing Derek, turning Catherine's life upside down, and my answer is always the same. No, not for a second, because revenge isn't about destruction, it's about restoration. I didn't destroy my daughter's life. Gave her a chance to rebuild it on a foundation of truth. Instead of lies, I didn't punish her for rejecting me. I taught her the consequences of disrespecting the people who love you, and most importantly, I didn't let her erase me. I made sure she would never forget that I exist, that I matter, that I am worthy of respect. Because at the end of the day, that's what this story is really about. Not revenge, dignity, knowing your worth, and refusing to let anyone, not your daughter, not your in-laws, not society, tell you that you're not good enough. You are good enough. You are worthy. You are valuable. And if people can't see that, that's their problem, not yours. So if you're going through something similar, if you're being disrespected, overlooked or erased by the people who should love you most, remember this. You have power, you have options, and you have the right to demand better. Don't beg for a seat at the table. Build your own table. And make sure everyone knows you're the one holding the deed. Thank you for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment telling me, what would you have done in Elena's situation? Would you have bought the house? Would you have exposed Derek? Would you have forgiven Sophia? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, remember, your story isn't over. And sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to disappear. Take care and stay strong.